Heyo everybody, Haku here, and welcome to my super quick The Walking Dead episode 803 review. At least I think I've kept most of these super quick this season, but I thought it was a great episode. There was a lot of content just shoved into 1 hour. Like, a ton had happened, and I thought, I was like, man, the episode has to be over soon, so much has happened, and I was only like 20 minutes in. So it was great. There was so much that happened. It felt so much better than last season, where last season you get through a whole episode and you're like, oh, that was it. Where this season so far we've jumped around so much and had so much happening at all times that it's just felt so much more full. It feels great. For the different things that happened and my thoughts on them, Ezekiel's group was dominating until the end when they were most of them were most likely killed. I bet Jerry will survive because he's important. Maybe, hopefully. Bet Carol will survive, obviously, because she's important. And same with Ezekiel himself, because all the people jumped on top of him. So I think they're fine. Like I talked about last week, though, it's sort of the pride before the fall. You saw this coming to develop Ezekiel's character, really, that he was just so confident, and even if he wasn't totally confident, he was putting that out there to try to keep everybody else happy and upbeat. But of course, when you're like that, you're going to get crushed down eventually. Pride before the fall, all that, yeah. The conversation between Rick and Morales was kind of meh. I get the sort of deeper tones they were going for, about how and one line I particularly liked was like when he said he was just lucky to be the one holding the gun, because if Rick was holding it, he'd probably already be dead. And Rick said, oh no, it wouldn't be like that. And he's like, are you sure it wouldn't? So I really liked that. I love that exchange. A lot of the stuff where you and me are the same, we ended up the same, some of that stuff was a bit of a stretch. I do like that he brought up that he only knew him for a few days, because that's the reality of it. He only knew him for a few days. So even though we as fans, years ago he was in the story and stuff, he only knew Rick a couple days. Imagine somebody that you only met for a couple of days and then you see him years later. It's like, you don't have that much of a connection or anything. Then Daryl, just very cold, just puts him down. I think it was fine. We didn't need to do too much with him, and I think it drove home the point that it doesn't matter who it is. He killed him not caring if he was Morales or not, because he was a savior. He was one of the bad guys. Now I don't agree completely with Daryl just running around killing everybody cold-bloodedly, but I do think that was a good way to show how things are going. Also, the conversation between Aaron and Eric, instead of being just with some good lines, that was great. All that was really great. They called back to something they said way back in season 5 when we first met them. I love the joke they got in there where Aaron's like, oh, I'm so sorry, and Eric just says, you shot me, just joking around with them. I thought that was great. They had a really good conversation. It was a good parting scene for Eric. I really like the one shot they did where it's sort of they're sort of flat against, well, we're shooting them directly from the side, and we have Eric laying up against the tree, Aaron leaning over him, and then the sun silhouetted behind them. I thought all that was great. So yeah, good conversation with some really good cinematography. Morales is killed. Daryl, very, very cold. The action that went on with Rick and Daryl's group was great. All the fighting and stuff was well done. Daryl killing the kid at the end, very cold. Again, he was just a savior, but he was just some random kid that was guarding the stairwell and stuff. He wasn't really like this big, important killer or anything. So he wasn't really much of a danger. Way less a danger than the people Jesus is keeping alive. So yeah, but either way, I guess that was about it with Rick and Daryl that I found important. One thing, Rick took a bunch of pictures, and Daryl said something about, are you sure you want to go talk to these guys alone or something like that, or these pricks alone? So that makes me think, is Rick gonna just waltz up there with all the pictures to the sanctuary and said, hey, we killed all your outposts, now surrender? Because if he's going to do that, especially alone, that's kind of dumb. If he just did that, but if he rolled up with the army again and said, okay, now you don't have the numbers anymore, we took out the outpost, that'd be different. But if he rolls up there alone, that's kind of dangerous, and it doesn't really put as much pressure on them. So yeah, I don't know where it's going, so we'll have to see where that goes. I loved Aaron's character journey throughout the episode. I love that he got Gracie, at least for the moment. So Gracie is alive for now. Morgan and Jesus' fight is... it was a really good fight, but the reasoning behind it wasn't super duper solid, so it didn't really feel that important because there wasn't that very deep, important emotion behind it. So it was just whatever it was. It was fun, but meh. It was a little bit confusing and messy because we see when Jesus first rolls up, it looks like Diane and whoever else, Tara, was with him, and then they fight, and it's like, well, why were they just standing around the whole time watching them fight without saying anything or reacting at all? So I can't tell if they were there or not, because they were with Jesus. And then we had another sequence later on where it looks like they're walking up, so it's like, I don't know what happened with them. Or even if they weren't exactly with him, wouldn't they have found him very quickly? They were all running in the same small area. And then the group of people that were tied up, after the fight, we see one of them laying there. How'd the one that was laying there get cut off from the rest, and what happened to the rest? Did they take them back to the main group? And if so, why didn't we see that to at least explain what happened? So it was a little bit messy. Also, the plan in general, even if they're planning to keep them alive, which is perfectly reasonable, they surrendered. What are you supposed to do? They drop their gun and say, I surrendered, and then you shoot them all in the heads? That's not totally fair, given that not all of them may be evil. But either way, even if you're keeping them alive, taking them to the hilltop is a dumb idea. Why keep them where all the families and children are? That is the dumbest place to take them during all of this. The Gregory scene was super funny. My favorite part of it was where he was like, Cal's delusional, and then Cal's like, what the hell, Gregory? Just yells from the wall, and he was up there the whole time. I thought that was funny. So yeah, it was a good, fun episode. It was whatever. I loved that the action was great. Throughout the episode, it was solid. We jumped around a bunch, a ton of content in one episode. No complaints, really. So yeah, 7.5 something. 7.5. Yeah, I can't really think of anything. Apocalypse Babies out of 10. I don't know. So yeah, I thought it was a really, really good episode. If the one complaint I have being Morgan and Jesus' fight really didn't matter a whole ton in the grand scheme of things. It's like the characters fought just for fan service, really. They kind of shoehorned the fight into there when it wasn't really super duper necessary. So yeah, either way, just didn't do much for the story. That's it. If you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this episode, what you thought of my thoughts on it. Subscribe for more of The Walking Dead, both comics and TV show, much more on the channel. Follow on Twitter if you want. I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel. And if you want a link to our Discord server, ask and I'll give you one. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.